Brett has called in from New York City. Brett, welcome to the Don Johnson Show.
How you doing? My name is Brett Strong.
Brett Strong, that's a great name. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, my YouTube channel is Mr. Brett Strong.
Mr. Brett
Strong. And I'm an atheist realist.
All right. Well, hey, Brett, welcome to the show. Now, the only thing I know about you is that you're an atheist. Why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself, as much as you'd like to share about have you always been an atheist, or how you came to that position, and let's just go from there. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Brett.
Well, I'm an atheist realist. I've been on Justin Browley Unbelievable show in London. I've also been on STR Radio, special guest. I've been on Backpack Radio, Redemption Radio, Debating Christians. My ministry is about just putting a stone in Christians' shoes. I don't care about, Christians being Christians. Actually, it's very enjoyable. Kids enjoy Santa Claus. Christians enjoy Jesus and God. That's fine. But what I don't like is dogma. I don't like Christianity when they come with hell, obey the Bible, you're a sinner. That stuff I don't like. And so my ministry is about not stopping Christianity, but just confronting the dogma and saying, okay, you guys don't have what it takes. What it takes. So just go off in your la-la land, Christianity, God, Jesus, and just stop the dogma, because you can't prove God, you can't prove Jesus. So that's what my ministry is about, is enjoying Christianity, the good part, but stopping the dogma.
Now, have you been a Christian? Have you had experience in the church at all, or you just always have been an atheist?
Yeah, no, I grew up in a Christian home. But when I became an adult, became wise, realized like the Bible is just basically a bunch of fairy tales, goes against what we know about science, and so I gave it up. Like this Christianity does not parlay into reality. Reality in Christianity, in a lot of ways, not always, but a lot of ways, there's a big division. Like Jesus, take it, New Testament Jesus, he disappears through walls. He appears out of thin air. In order to be a mature adult and to believe in science, we know that human beings don't disappear into walls. Disappear through walls, vanish into thin air, appear out of thin air, float up into the sky, disappear into the clouds. We know through science, humans don't. And I know you believe Jesus is both human and divine, but science says, when you get into the supernatural aspect, the divine aspect, that's just speculation. It's just assumptions, and it has no basis in science.
Now, you touched on something early on in your little talk there about the fact that you don't think Christianity is true, and hopefully that's...
I didn't say all of it, some of it.
Okay. I just want to establish that's the reason to reject...
Yeah, because all religions has truth, as you would agree. Am I correct?
Some parts of truth, yeah, sure. And so you just... But as an overarching worldview, you find it false, and you reject
Christian
it.
God doesn't exist. That's the foundation of Christianity, is the Christian God and the New Testament superhero Jesus. Those two characters are just biblical characters. I call them comic book characters, and they don't exist. So the basis of Christianity, at the very most, you have to say, okay, it's faith-based. You can't prove God or Jesus actually exists. So the foundation of Christianity is, to me, whimsical, mythological, but at the very most, I could draw even with you and say, okay, at the very most, you can't prove your God or Jesus even exists. Versus me being an atheist material world, at least my worldview trumps your worldview, because at least as an atheist realist, I believe in the material world, and that's all there is. And science shows us, hey, that's all there is. You could assume the supernatural, but as far as what we see and what we study around us, of course, you could say, well, there's abstract thoughts and all that, and I wouldn't debate you today on abstract thoughts. But as far as the world around us, it's all material, and there is no God one can point to. It's an assumption, and it's a faith thing.
All right, well, before we get too far down that road in debating worldviews, I'd like to learn a little bit more about that worldview that you hold. You rejected Christianity, and you have referenced a materialistic worldview. Now, on this show, we do like to debate worldviews, so I'd like to hear you talking about that. But we want to, before we get to any sort of debate, we want to make sure that we're clear about what each of us is talking about, what you believe to be true and what I believe to be true. So If you could just summarize a worldview. I mean, maybe if our listeners are just joining us, maybe you haven't heard the Don Johnson Show before. When I say worldview, I'm talking about a system of belief that answers the big questions of life and provides an overarching narrative to the history of the world. And everyone holds one. Everyone walks around with certain beliefs about the nature of reality, how we came to be here, what our purpose in life is, if there's evil in the world, and if so, why, and what's the solution to that? Is there a God or isn't there? What happens when we die? These questions make up one's worldview. So how you answer those questions, that's your worldview. And so we debate those. We discuss what are the varying answers to these questions. And then we decide what provides the best explanation of the data. So we've got certain facts on the ground that we can agree on. These things are true, and what provides the best explanation for that? Obviously, I think Christianity provides a better explanation for the facts on the ground than any other worldview. But let's start by just, Brett, could you just sort of summarize the story of the world as you understand it? How do you answer those big questions of life? How we got here, why are we here, those sort of things. If you could summarize that for us and just sort of flesh out your materialist realist, I think you called it, that worldview. If you could just explain that for a little bit.
Well, I'll just broach upon your first thing. You just said, how do we get here? That's something that Christians love to throw at atheists. And I'm going to have to say what any atheist PhD scholar would say. Like Alex Rosenberg, Lawrence Krauss, we don't know. One day science will find out, but at this point we don't know how we got here, but we're here. So I'm not going to say anything beyond reality, because my worldview is based on reality. The reality is we're here. How we got here, we don't know. Now, you, Don Johnson, may say, and Brandon may say, our God did it, but that's being whimsical and fantasy world.
Yeah, well, we're not really talking about. Hold on. We're not really talking about the Christian worldview yet. I'm just more interested in how you explain, just how you answer those questions. That's all. We can talk about the Christian understanding later.
Okay,
just
that's fine.
what's
how we got here? I don't know. We're here, and that's what.
Okay.
And so you can ask me any more, and I can answer it.
Yeah. Okay. So then, why do we know why we are here? Is there a purpose or a meaning to life? Any sort of ultimate end to our existence?
There's meaning to life. I mean, we go to zoos and watch Animal Planet. Of course, there's meaning to life. The basic meaning of life is that we're animals, so it's basically survive, procreate, and we die. So we're animals, just like a lion in a safari. An ape, gorilla, a mouse, cat, rat. It's all about survival and procreation. That's the purpose of life. That's the meaning of life. It's survival and procreation. That's the basis. Yes, there's other things around it, but the base of life purpose is survive, procreation. That's what it's all about.
Okay. And then, so then what happens when we die, cease to exist, or?
Easy. When we die, it's just like driving and seeing a deer on the side of the road, roadkill. We die, we get eaten up by bacteria, worms, flies, and that's it. We're all meat through and through. Your brain, heart, lungs, skin, it's all flesh, just like any other animal. We're all animals. We humans eat other animals, and other animals eat us humans. We're just animals, just different species of animals, but we're all animals. We eat each other. We live like each other. We're born the same way. We're all suckle on the woman, the female's breast. We're animals. And so when we die, we just die. Just like an ant or a pig or a rat, we just die, and that's it.
Okay, and so then usually another large element of any worldview is based on, how we got here, why we're here, and what happens when we die. Certain implications flow from that in regards to morality and these sort of things. How should we then live is usually a question that follows from those other three. So what would you say, how should we then live? Or does that question even make sense within that worldview? Is there a how should we, or do we just live?
No, it does make sense. We live according to our best abilities, using our common sense and reason. But to back up for a moment, you said morals. There is no such, I know that you believe in objective morals.